have a great topic that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be talking about the FDA. Basically, they must come clean about the real risks of smokeless tobacco. And Dr. Brad Rodu, PhD professor of medicine at the University of Louisville, has made himself available today for this fabulous interview. Doctor, welcome to Lineup Media. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, James.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this. The Food and Drug Administration is failing to follow established ethical principles by leaving the public in the dark about some of these relative dangers of smokeless tobacco compared to cigarettes. Give us your thoughts on this.
Well, everybody knows that smoking ultimately gives great risks to when you burn tobacco and inhale smoke over a 20 or 25-year career, you risk heart attacks, strokes, lung cancer, and other major illnesses.
Yeah.
But it's not the tobacco plant. So smoked tobacco, which doesn't create any smoke, has vastly lower health risks.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. Dr. Brad Rodu is with us. He's a PhD professor of medicine at the University of Louisville, and he's with us today here on our big broadcast. Now, another point here I want to get your thoughts on is the failure of the FDA to adequately inform the public here about these smokeless tobacco products. Are basically significantly safer than cigarettes, stands in the way of achieving the best outcomes for public health. According to a paper published in the Addictive Behaviors by Professor David T. Sweener and Assistant Professor, tell us a little bit about this and your thoughts on this whole thing.
Well, the FDA, along with other federal agencies, are treating all tobacco products as if they had the same risks, produced the same amount of deaths, and basically this is wrong. And Sweener and Kozlowski have pointed out that the FDA needs to mend its ways and start telling American smokers and American smokeless users, the dippers and chewers, that these products have different health effects.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. And the topic today, the FDA must come clean about the real risks of smokeless tobacco. And with us today, Dr. Brad Rodu. I'll have to say that this study, this addictive behaviors, the National Youth Survey basically is out. It shows 31.8% of responders reporting smokeless tobacco was riskier than cigarettes, and only 7.1% reporting smokeless was less risky. In total, 93% of those surveyed didn't know smokeless tobacco was less hazardous than cigarettes. Give us your thoughts on that from a medical perspective, Doctor.
Well, when the federal government has been lying to Americans for 30 years, then it's no wonder that people don't understand how low the risks are from dipping and chewing compared with smoking. So these surveys make sense because we've been misinformed.
Now, it is a topic that is well researched by Dr. Rodu. He is a amazing guest, and he's with us today here on our Lineup Media presentation. And Dr. Brad Rodu is a professor of medicine at the University of Louisville, where he holds an endowed chair in tobacco harm reduction research. And he's with us today here on our big program. Now, this whole thing with smokeless tobacco, a lot of people they don't understand what smokeless tobacco is, and for those of the folks in the audience that don't know what this is, what is that exactly, Doctor?
Well, mostly what smokeless tobacco is dip or chew. And it's a small amount of tobacco. You take a pinch out of a can, put it up inside your lip, and basically you enjoy nicotine and tobacco flavor without the smoke. It also comes in the chew and foil pouches. Some people use that product. But all of the products that are smoke-free so they don't have the major risks that smokers have.
It is a great guest with us today. The FDA must come clean about the real risks of tobacco and smokeless tobacco. And with us today on our broadcast, Dr. Brad Rodu. He makes his first appearance here on Lineup Media. And Dr. Rodu has been involved in research and policy development regarding tobacco harm reduction. In 2003, Dr. Rodu served as an expert witness at a congressional hearing on tobacco harm reduction and has spoken at numerous international forums and has been involved in the education of this industry for basically the past 20 years. Do you think that smokeless tobacco could be healthier than regular tobacco?
There's no question that smokeless tobacco is lower risk and safer to use than burning tobacco and inhaling the smoke and the 6,000 chemicals that are part of the smoke. Now, one thing that people are misinformed about is nicotine. Nicotine is the reason people smoke. It's addictive, but it's not the reason that smokers are dying. Nicotine, in fact, can be consumed about as safely as we consume caffeine in our morning coffee and tea and cola drinks. So nicotine, a lot of people think nicotine is the cause of all of the problems, but it isn't. It is, however, addictive.
It is Dr. Rodu. He joins us today here in our broadcast. The FDA must come clean about the real risks of smokeless tobacco. And the Washington Examiner recently put out an article talking about all of this. How many adult smokers try to quit every year and fail, Doctor?
Well, the failure rate for smokers is about 95%. Smoking is very, very powerful. People not only enjoy it, but they are many of them are unwilling or unable to give it up entirely. We call those inveterate smokers. They just can't live a normal life without tobacco and nicotine. And that's why we tell them that they need to get educated about safer options for consuming and enjoying nicotine and tobacco.
We've got a great guest with us today. The FDA must come clean about the real risks of smokeless tobacco, and our guest today, Dr. Brad Rodu, Ph.D., Professor of Medicine at the University of Louisville, has made himself available for this great interview. And if you want to get more information on past interviews, you can go over to jagshow.com and download some of our other interviews and different programs from the past. And Dr. Rodu with us today here on our big broadcast. Now, so kind of a side note here. What was some of your interest in pursuing this form of education and being in this business for about 20 years?
Well, it turns out, James, that I, as an oral and maxillofacial pathologist, I thought I was a mouth cancer specialist. But it turns out that I was also misinformed about the relative safety of dip and chew products. And so when I did some research and found out back in the early 1990s, over 20 years ago, I decided to try to get this message out to smokers all over the United States.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our program. And why is smokeless tobacco such a popular mainstay out there?
Well, it delivers nicotine and tobacco enjoyment to millions of mostly men. And it's been a popular product. In fact, James, before World War I, smokeless tobacco was the most popular product in the United States. It wasn't until World War I and especially World War II when cigarettes actually became more popular. So smokeless tobacco has a long tradition of use in the United States. It's far safer than smoking, so it represents a great option for smokers who want to reduce their health risks.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program, coast to coast and border to border on Line Up Media today, lineupmedia.fm. And we've got Dr. Brad Rodu with us today here on our big program. Now, the marketplace seems to be flooded with a lot of these different things. Is there a safer product in the market that helps smokers quit smoking that is not basically a prescription?
Well, in addition to smokeless tobacco, you've probably also heard about e-cigarettes. They deliver a vapor or an aerosol of nicotine and flavors. And again, there's no burning. There's no smoke. So e-cigarettes, in addition to dip and chew, are also great options for the smoker who's looking for a different way to enjoy tobacco.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our broadcast. The FDA must come clean about the real risks of smokeless tobacco. And we've got a great guest with us today, Dr. Brad Rodu, Ph.D., professor of medicine at the University of Louisville. And what are some of the kinds of smokeless tobacco that are out there?
Well, you have dip. That's what people have in the round cans, Copenhagen, Skoal, Grizzly. And then there's chewing tobacco, which comes in foil pouches. So both those products can be used. And then there's a Swedish product called snus. It's made in Sweden. It turns out that Swedish men have one of the highest consumption rates of smokeless tobacco in the entire world. And so they have low lung cancer rates and low smoking rates because they enjoy their tobacco in smokeless forms. And their products, called snus, are also available here in the United States.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. And how many smokers are dying every year from these smoking cigarettes, basically?
Well, we have about 35 million smokers in the United States, and as many as 450,000 of them die each and every year. So the toll is really serious. For any other toll this large, we would be employing emergency crews, and yet we seem to be comfortable as a society. The federal government especially seems not to want to do what is necessary to cut that toll.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program, lineupmedia.fm, and also get more information at jagshow.com. Now, what is the Swedish experience? How does this connect to some of these tobacco harm reductions? You kind of spotlighted a little bit there, but give me more details on this.
Well, the Swedish experience is the fact that men in Sweden, instead of smoking tobacco, instead use smokeless tobacco products. I actually discovered that 15 years ago and conducted research in Sweden back in 2002 in order to try to understand how they've substituted a far safer product and bring that information, bring that knowledge back to the U.S. and help smokers here. So the Swedish experience is a really tremendous advantage over cigarette smoking.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our broadcast, and check out jagshow.com. And before we let you go, Dr. Brad, how do we get in touch with you and talk with you more?
Well, the best way is to contact me through my blog. That's Rodu, R-O-D-U, Tobacco Truth. That's a blog post that I make blog posts every week, You can find my book, For Smokers Only, in both audiobook and Kindle formats. And you can reach me through that blog. And I'd love to keep in touch with you and continue to develop this story.
Now, before we let you go, let's talk a little bit about your book. Kind of talk to us a little bit about the book and why you decided to write it. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of the book.
Well, you know, when you're in the medical field, you're more you conventionally talk in medical terms. What I wanted to do was reach out to smokers, talk to them in their language, tell them about these advantages of smokeless tobacco, show them that it can be used invisibly, that it doesn't have to involve spitting, that smokeless tobacco can be a great substitute for them. So I reached out with a book, an audio book, and lots of materials to support the concept that people can use tobacco safely. You know, just like we have seat belts, airbags, and anti-lock brakes for cars, we can also use tobacco in far safer forms.
Now, with your book, give us a profile of the typical reader who's going to love your book.
Well, the reader that's going to like my book is the reader that has been unable or unwilling to quit smoking using all of the conventional ways to quit, like counseling or nicotine gum or nicotine patches or going to hypnosis. Many smokers just can't quit, or cold turkey for that matter. So they need to get tobacco and nicotine satisfaction in a different way that lowers their risks for serious diseases like cancer, heart attack, strokes, and emphysema.
Now, Doctor, this book is an incredibly well-written book and everything. Why did you decide to write this book, and who's your target audience?
Well, like I said, I tried to write the book to reach out to the American smokers. People like my brother, my parents, my kids, who don't understand medicine, but understand common, plain language, educating them and informing them about what their options are. So much of tobacco control now is telling people what to do. I prefer instead to educate them and let them make their own decisions.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our Lineup Media presentation. Now, what's the overall theme of your book?
Well, the theme is that you can have choices about which tobacco products you use and what those ultimate health effects will be.
We've got a great guest. Dr. Rodu joins us here in our broadcast. Who do you envision to be the potential readers for your great book?
Well, I think any smoker who needs to make a change will benefit from reading my book. It tells them about the smokeless tobacco options that are available. It also tells them that e-cigarettes, which are the new products on the block, are also excellent substitutes for burning smoke and inhaling all the toxins.
Now, before we let you go, how do they pick the book up, my friend?
How do they get the book?
Yes, how do they get the book, my friend?
You can go to Amazon.com